Hello everyone, good morning. It's me Salim Khan from onlineenglish.sk. Welcome back to our channel. We are on the screen with a new video for you. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon so that you get more interesting videos. In today's session, I would like to teach you have to, has to, had to, their subject and tense agreement, their structures, and of course a lot of real life examples. So let's get started. So let's study them individually. First we have to study have to and has to. They are semi-modal auxiliary verbs. As I told you in the previous video, that all the modal verbs and semi-modal verbs, they take base form of the verb. The verb used after to, that must be in the first or in the base form. And have to and has to are used when we are talking about strong obligation, of course imposed by law or rule, or in simple words you can say the impersonal obligation. So when you are talking about impersonal obligation in the present, we use have to and has to. For example, I have to get up early in the morning for school. This example means I'm bound. It's my responsibility or it's my compulsion to get up early for school. This is imposed by law or by rule. So we use have to and has to for present obligation that shows stronger obligation. Note that has to is the singular form of have to, like with third person singular pronoun like he, she, it, or singular noun. We use has to only in positive sentences. In negative and interrogative we use have to, because we have there the auxiliary, that is does or doesn't. When a sentence we have does or doesn't, we use the base form of the word, that is have to. So have to and has to are used when we are talking about present obligation. For example, we can have more examples. She has to get up early in the morning for fishing. She doesn't have to get up early in the morning for fishing. Does she have to get up early in the morning for fishing? You see, when I use she in the positive, I used has to because the subject is singular, third person singular pronoun. So instead of have to, I have to use has to. And in negative, I use doesn't, so I have to use have to. You see, in negative, I use have or have to. Why? Because there I use does or doesn't. So when you have does or doesn't in a sentence, we use have to, whatever the subject is. There is a simple formula for using have to and has to. When you have third person singular pronouns like he, she, it, or singular name, in the positive just use has to. Without positive sentences with singular subjects, you have to use in all the other cases only have to, whether that's plural pronoun, that's negative, that's interrogative. Like an interrogative and a negative, has to is changed into have to because of the auxiliary. The next one we have had to. Had to is also a semi-modal auxiliary verb used with base form of verb to show past strong obligation or compulsion. It's not same like have to and has to. Whatever the subject is, whether that's singular, plural, first person, third person, whatever, we use had to with all the subjects. And when you're talking about past obligation, we use had to. And the verb after had to, that must be in present simple form, in base form. For example, I had to get up early in the morning for school last year. It means that time it was my compulsion to get up early in the morning. I was bound by rule or by law. And there is also a note that in negative and in interrogative we do not use had to, because we have an auxiliary there, that is didn't. Whenever in a sentence we have did or didn't, we use the first form of the verb, so that is have to. For example, I had to get up early in the morning for school last year. It means last year I was bound to get up early in the morning for school. That was imposed by law. So in negative we do not use had to because we have the auxiliary didn't. When it comes to talking about auxiliary, didn't, doesn't, don't, did, do, does, any of them there in a sentence we use the base form of the verb. So in negative we can say I didn't have to get up early in the morning for school, or she didn't have to get up early in the morning for fishing. You see in the examples, when I use didn't, I have to use have to instead of had to. So that's the main point. Now let's move to structures. We got positive, negative and interrogative structures for have to, has to and had to. First we have to look at positive. In positive structure, first of all we have to use subject. After subject we have to use a semi-modal auxiliary verb. It can be have to, has to or had to. According to subject you can decide whether you use have to or has to. Or if you are talking about present and past, you have to decide between have to and had to. After that we use first form of verb, then we use the complement. For example, they have to go to school on time. She has to wash the dog. So they are bound, it's their present obligation. For past, you can make an example like we had to take out the trash. In negative, it's very simple in negative. First we use subject. After subject we use the auxiliary. Auxiliary can be doesn't, it can be don't for present, and for past it can be didn't. Then we use only base form have to with all the tense, like if it's past, if it's present, if it's singular subject, plural subject, whatever, we use only have to. After that we use first form of verb, then we use complement. For example, they didn't have to take out trash. I don't have to get up early in the morning. And last we have interrogative structures. So interrogative structures we use the auxiliary at the beginning of the sentence. If you are talking about singular subjects we use does. If you are talking about plural subjects in the present we use do. And if you are talking about past we use did, like did or do or does. Then the subject, after subject we have to, then we use base form of verb, then we use the complement, and at last we use the question mark. For example, do you have to go to school on Sunday? Or does she have to speak to Ali? And we hope you find this video very precious and important for your learning process. Wish you best of luck.